I am very, very hyped because we got the CEO of the SPCA, Andrea Midgen. How are you?
Kia ora, Robett. Really good, thank you.
You'll have it noted that on my LinkedIn profile, one of the two things I support is animal rights and SPCAs in there. I'm a massive fan. Love animals. I always wonder about. I've been asked before if someone was drowning a human or a dog, who I'd go for, and I kind of feel I'd go for the dog. And I know it's probably the bad thing to say, but I just have I've grew up with animals. I'm a huge, massive, massive, massive fan of the animals. So massive means so much to so many. Well done.
Sorry, just cut out in the last bit.
Oh, I was just saying thank you. I was saying thank you for the great job you do. That's very good.
Thank you. It's amazing. You look at social media and you get way more likes on animal stuff than you do on human stuff every time.
Yeah. Have you heard of a lady called Jess Bovey yet? She's the social media manager for NZ Police.
No.
She is on fire on LinkedIn, and she just basically does the best posts of all police stuff. But what she does is she does it all around like the dogs and the cats. It's just epic. It's epic. So let's rewind back a bit before we go too off tangent before we even start. SPCA, you've got. I've been given some reading notes that a certain mutual friend of ours says there are 600 staff across the 38 SPCA centres and 56 op shops, 5,000 volunteers, and SPCA cares for 40,000 animals annually. It's pretty awesome.
It's huge, and it's not changing. It's not going down, which is the sad part.
You've been in the organisation for 5 years in the role now, is
Hmm.
that right?
Yep.
Why'd you do it?
Oh, look, I've had some really big corporate jobs, and I love change. But I went to the SPCA actually as the CEO of Auckland, and I really just wanted to wrap my hands around and create a really good culture for a bunch of people that are doing an amazing job for the animals across the country. And I was sick of the money go round and wanted to make a real difference. And I know it's really corny to say that, but I just don't think I could go back to corporate land now. It really has to be about making a difference to society. And I'm not fixed on animals. I love animals, but any organization that is actually making a difference to the environment or the human race or the animals is what works for me now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when it's something that it's like who doesn't love animals? If anyone that I meet doesn't either like music or animals, they're flipping weird, and I can't be friends with them. I I absolutely love like my dog was once sick, and I got on a plane. I was in New Zealand, Lab was in the States, and I got on a flight that night to go back because they say it's just like it's something that you can't when you love animals, you love animals. We were talking about before we came on air, structurally, commercially, the business. It's not cool. You don't call yourself a business, do you? Charity? What do you call yourself? It is a
Charity
business, but charity
organization. Yeah.
organization went through a huge structural change. What happened? Why did it happen? Because I think they'll give good context for where we can go for the rest of it.
Yeah, so SPCA has been in New Zealand for about 140 years, and there's a great fight about whether it started in Dunedin or Christchurch. But anyway, all that
Just
time
Christchurch.
ago, and it grew up organically, and so there was a need in a community, and so someone would start up another one, and it ended up we had 46 individual incorporated societies. And that's not sustainable for a number of reasons. There's all the health and safety laws and new finance reporting and all that creates a big burden on not-for-profits. And but also, more importantly, our chair coined the phrase that an animal shouldn't be defined by its postcode. So I always pick on poor old Kawerau. They were just trying to keep their door open and do what they could for the animals. And why should those animals suffer when other areas had more money and could do more? So
The
it was really a
Ponsonby
focus.
cats. Those
Yeah,
Ponsonby cats.
yeah, exactly. So how do we shift from transacting at the bottom of the cliff all the time, animals in and animals out, and how do we move to the top of the cliff and put that fence up and stop this level of abuse, this level of unwanted and vulnerable, educate our people about compassion for animals. They're sentient beings. They feel just like we do as humans, and they should be something that we're absolutely proud and treasure in our lives, not subject to abuse.
Hell yeah. I would 150% agree. Um, COVID.
Yes.
How, obviously, everyone's working remotely. I get that now. But in the lead up until lockdown, was there a massive like rush on adoptions from like little Johnny who just needed his little iguana, or just like what happened? What just took me through the logistics of those 4 days of Gong Show? What actually
It
was it like?
was absolutely incredible. And there's always silver linings to these type of events, right? And so we got change in our organisation happening so fast, and the public of New Zealand were amazing. We adopted over 1,000 animals in those 4 days, which is like 3 times higher than we've ever done before. And on top of that, we increased our foster network, which is where animals can go stay for a while if they're not ready for adoption for whatever reason, health or age and things. We increased that by 800 people, which again has never been heard of before. So it was just ballistically, crazily stupid, but amazing.
It's so funky because you wonder what, and was it the little grommets who just wanted to get it before it was lockdown? We're like, we're going to be at home, I can look after it, and we can get them I'll get them potty trained. Like, was that basically it for everyone?
There's a lot of that, but there's a lot of people that have been putting it off because, they work a lot of time and didn't really think that they had the right environment, and they thought, gosh, we're going to be here all the time. I do think that there's a risk that, particularly with some of these dogs, they've had such huge attention over the last sort of 7 weeks that there's going to be anxiety, withdrawal symptoms for when life does go back to normal.
That's it's a shitty reason why to get to a situation, but net for all of those animals, it's amazing for them, right? Like it's always a one wins, one loses. Health goes down for some, and then opportunity for others. And through this, when you look at how other parts of the world have gone through it, New Zealand seems to be obviously a massive commercial economic challenge to climb out of this, but health wise, as number one in comparison to a lot of the other spots, I think if that was the priority, I think it's done not too bad. But then, okay, so let's talk about level 4 lockdown. Did all the animals? So what happened to all the animals? Like everyone just could people drop off anything? Like logistically, what happened during lockdown? How did
So
things
yeah.
move if it didn't move? Like what happened?
So usually we have 3,000 to 4,000 animals at any one time across all of our centres. With this great movement of adoptions and fostering, we got down as low as 600 animals across our centres. So we managed to shut a whole lot, and then the rest were on very strict roster, small teams. And then we have what we call our inspectorate force and ambulance and field officers. And so they were going out to people that had animals. So, for instance, maybe they had a foster animal and it got sick, and so they'd go out and collect it in a contactless way and bring it back to be vet checked or drop off food, all those sorts of things. So we learnt very, very quickly how to operate in a contactless, safe way for all our staff. And the amazing thing is that not one single person within the SPCA network has reported COVID. So we're really pleased with that result.
So that's awesome, right? But I got another note that Sarah had put in here, and she said, Andrea has done an exceptional job of coordinating SPCA's response and liaising with MPI to gain our essential service status. How is the SPCA not a flippin' essential service?
Well, it's just such a new environment, and that was our first battle. I've forgotten about that. Our first battle was just to get essential service, and there's some, oh well, maybe, and over in the UK, the RSPCA over there were not classed as an essential service, which would have just been awful for them, and that was it. And then the next one that we battled with was that desexing should carry on, because it's like a bit of a pipeline, right? And if you stop one part of that pipeline, then you just get this whole build up and back up. And unfortunately, the vets weren't comfortable, in terms of the New Zealand Veterinary Association, weren't comfortable about doing desexing and lockdown. So we could only do it where we have our own vets, which is Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch mainly. And so we're just working through that backlog of desexing now to get them out. But I'm hoping that the procedures have been built and written and put in place now and show that we're being safe, that will be reconsidered if, God forbid, we ever have to go back into a lockdown again.
So just go back to the essential service thing. How did you know you weren't in essential service, and when did that come across your desk? Did someone email you? You got a message and was like, "Hey, you're not essential," and you're like, "We kind of are." What happened?
No, we've got a really good relationship with the Ministry of Primary Industries because we're a co-regulator of the Animal Welfare Act with them for our inspectorate service. So we were talking to them as soon as there was rumblings about a lockdown, and it was just a bit of a negotiation back and forth. And we've got a science team who are experts in animal welfare and things like that, and they wrote these amazing procedures to make sure that MPI had comfort that we knew what we were doing, we were going to be safe about it, and it was something that could continue.
Nice. Yeah, nice. And you're talking about the contactless pickups, and so would just put them in cages and you'd pick them up there. And so what happens now coming into level 2? How does it change? They can come back in and get them. Like, what changes operationally now in terms of logistics, handling, movements, animal, people, adoptions, the whole thing? Talk me through that.
We're taking quite a safe approach to level 2 even. So we're not opening our centres up for public to just wander on in and have a look at some animals. We've got them all up on our website. So if people want to adopt or foster, they just go on the website and fill out the forms and make an application for that, and then they come in by appointment only. So whereas before under level 3 and 4 we would tend to go out to whoever, now people will be allowed to come in but by appointment only.
Yeah, nice. I saw some reports come out overseas that that COVID had spread into animals. Now, I didn't look too much more into that, but has any animals in New Zealand been tested for COVID? Have they even done that? Is that a thing? Like, what's the buzz there?
Yeah, it's quite interesting space because there has been some examples of cats, dog, and tigers in New York.
Carol Baskin. That's who got flipping Baskin.
that have got COVID, but it seems that they get it from the humans rather than animal to animal, and there's been no instance of an animal giving it to humans, and a lot of the animals have been asymptomatic as well.
Yeah, that would, man. If it starts, I was just thinking like cats. If it went from like cats to people, man, we'd be stuffed, and then dogs would be a flipping gong show.
Oh, absolutely, and horribly, I think it was in China, people were throwing their animals off the balcony because they thought at one stage that they were spreading it, and we were watching very, very carefully to make sure that there was none of that sort of behaviour going on in New Zealand.
No, it's the last thing, especially for that sort of side. That's, I mean, geez, I flipping hate stuff like that. On that topic, that's something that you feel very strongly about. How does New Zealand do in terms of the rest of the world for animal abuse? Are we good or are we shit?
Well, we're pretty shit, really.
Really?
I mean, we're bad in abuse generally in our society, which is such a shame, and it's such a big problem to try and get over. One of the things that we're doing as SPCA is we actually have this amazing, if I say so myself, education program. It's part of the New Zealand curriculum. So children that go to primary school and intermediate school, they've got to learn, budgeting. And so we've created this whole online portal for the students and the teachers, and it provides all the context in which the teachers can teach it. So say they've got to do budgeting, and so how much does it cost to get a dog, feed it, vaccinate it, house it, exercise it, all of that sort of thing. And so within all of that, we're teaching children about compassion, because when I started at SPCA 5 years ago, our primary school teacher who's led this program described to me a primary school in Auckland that she used to teach at, and there was a 9-year-old boy throwing a kitten against a brick wall, not understanding what is wrong with that. And, this is the issue that we have, used to seeing within their family drowning kittens because they don't want them, and that's okay. And of course, it's absolutely not. So we need to lead, and it's a long term project and to bring that societal change. But we're hoping that the messages are really strong, and that will work through that schools and as those generations come through.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even navigate the strategy of changing the mindset of behavior when kids have learned from what they've seen, right? And that's
Well,
their
this
normal.
thing,
It's like how do you navigate that? What's the like? How,
it's really challenging, and if it was an easy problem to solve, I'm sure someone would have solved it. You know, the police. We work with police. We work with organisations like Housing New Zealand, and we're just improving the reporting and the sharing of information so that if we go into a situation, the inspectors go in and they um, are dealing with animal abuse, they'll also just look around and go, chances are there's more abuse happening in this situation. So notify the right people, and vice versa. And so that's a really good step forward from what we used to do.
yeah, it's a danger with Groms, eh? Because yeah, it's a thing of if they're seeing it happen to animals, it might be happening to them. Just always it's probably a pretty sad trail that you have to sort of go through, and then obviously that goes to the dogs. A good buddy of mine, you know, got another rescue dog, and just the mental scarring and baggage that this dog has. Like he was just saying, it's a psychological absolute shit show. Like he's got to just navigate this. Is such a tough thing, right? And you don't, and so many people don't think that animals have brains too. Animals have feelings. Animals have memories. Animals have issues. Animals have there's a lot. And I think the more it comes to the forefront, the better. But at least it feels in New Zealand now that people can at least talk about mental health pretty openly. It
Yeah.
feels that is pretty much you don't do those type of things. So as a mass, it definitely feels a different energy towards the treatment of animals than it probably was 10 or 20, 30 years ago. So that's at least,
Oh,
it feels like society's getting better.
so much so. And, our numbers are going up for people reporting. And often when I'm doing interviews, they say that's really bad. And I actually think it's really good because I think more and more people are going, hey, that's actually not okay. I can see over the fence. And, tools like phones and being able to video stuff is just gold for us, because then if we want to take a prosecution, you can't refute that. Or they can send it in and say, hey, is this okay? Is this sort of treatment all right? And we go, absolutely not. We're sending someone round. So the more and more that happens, I think it will help improve it. And back to your point about the psychological harm, this is a thing that really kills me, because we don't put any animals down unless we really have to. And so there's only two reasons. One is health. If something's so seriously bad, it's the right thing for the animal. Can kind of live with that because it's no different to humans, right? But the psychological harm that is done to some of these animals, and with the best will in the world, sometimes we just can't turn that around. And it's same with humans, I know, but to have to put a beautiful animal down just because of the treatment that it's received earlier in its life is the hardest thing for our team. But of course, we know there's a lot of people that won't take on that burden, because you actually have to put hours and hours of time in. And sometimes there's things that you just cannot change. And if, for instance, the animals become quite aggressive because it's so fearful, you can't take the risk that it's going to be harm, biting humans or other dogs and what have you. So it's really tough.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, eh? The Who would have thought that the introduction of an iPhone would save animals' lives,
Yeah,
right? Be like,
right.
what? No, but it's cool, and you think as well that the headspace of, it's not that it's like safe snitching, but people are genuinely like, hey, this is stuff. But a lot of time they'll be ringing up to ask, is this normal? Because they won't know, right? Like they probably either, if they don't have animals themselves, they might not realize that that's not okay. So no, I think when it comes to SPCA safe snitching, I'm all for it. Hell yeah,
It's
snitch
a nice
away, man.
label. We'll do that.
Safe snitching.
Yeah.
Just, but you have like a bunch of like real gang members with like SPCA do rags, be like safely snitch. It's totally fine. Um, you were talking about before about the desexing. So so there's an educational component of this for those that aren't unaware of it, because I don't know too much about it. What's the big deal? It's to stop the breeding, right? But it's not regulated, or it's not mandated. What's the hook?
Yeah, so in New Zealand, anybody can sort of basically breed as they like. The councils also have responsibilities for dogs under the Dog Act, and so that's for strays and dangerous dogs. But nobody has any responsibility from a legislation point of view around cats either. So what we would love to see is change to law that means that all animals should be mandatorily desexed before they're rehomed, and it's only licensed breeders that are able to breed, and that would stop some of the horrible behaviours happening in puppy farms and things like that. But more importantly, 80% of our animals are kittens, cats, kittens. And it's because they're unwanted, they're vulnerable, they need a home, and there's not enough homes for them, and they just carry on breeding because there's nobody responsible for them. And even practices like the pounds that take these dogs, some of them release the dogs that are back to owners and what have you without desexing them. And it just seems to be crazy because you're just exacerbating the problem, and it's actually not a difficult problem to solve. It just takes a bit of money and a bit of time and effort, but it's very solvable.
So you would like to have it regulated, legislated, made, whatever. And so what would that? So does that law not exist? What would that law be? What is it? What is the dream scenario?
The law doesn't exist at the moment, and so the dream scenario is that all animals are desexed prior to rehoming unless you're a licensed breeder. Simple. And also that they're microchipped.
Yeah. So why isn't that a thing? Because it feels like that will instantly almost anyone engaging with vulnerable animals would be that would de-risk a bunch of it, because all of a sudden there's not going to be them 20 of them sitting around that aren't wanted, and then people feeling awkward of like, what do we do with these 20 kittens?
Yeah, exactly. And
it seems easy. So
yeah,
why is this not a thing?
Yeah, why? Yeah, it's a long story, but it's just not got to the top of the list. And we talk about 40,000 animals into New Zealand, into SPCA, and then there's all these other rescue groups all the way across the country that are dealing with thousands more. So it's a big problem, and there's a lot of money going into this, and it's just so unnecessary.
So what? I have a small brain. Why is this not legal? Is there a minister of animals?
So the Minister of Primary Industries, Minister O'Connor, is responsible for animal welfare. And there's a body called NAWAC, and they basically develop the laws. But there's a lot of animal-related laws that need to be put through, and so it's sort of on the list. But it's something that we're talking more and more about. And it's another reason actually why we came together as one, because we wanted a voice and we wanted to have a credible voice, and so that we were heard rather than 46 little yappy voices. So we've been working very closely with the government to try and bring some of this change about.
Okay, so Minister, what's his name? I'm writing his name
O'Connor.
down.
O'Connor.
Okay, Minister O'Connor. And he's an animal minister. What is his name? What's his job?
He's a Minister of Primary Industries. So it's all animals. So think about companion, we're talking about production, everything.
Okay. You leave that with me. I'm just going to...
Cool. Yay.
No, but I don't know. Like, I think very simply. It's like, let's just make it safer for the animals, and then life is better and people don't hurt. Like, if you don't want psycho murderers to go around doing it on people, they start with animals. So stop on animals and, get some more hugs going. So no, it's all right. All right. Minister O'Connor, what's his first name? I'm writing his name down. Gareth.
Damien.
What I think of, that's right. The cat guy, Morgan.
Yeah.
Is he? I've never met that guy, but he sounds flipping crazy. So, but he loves cats, right? Cats is his big thing, is he? Or he hates cats?
Both, really. He
Yeah,
loves
because he loves
he does
birds,
like
doesn't he?
cats, but he doesn't like cats out in the environment killing the birds.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, is he a friend or foe in my motion with Minister Damien O'Connor for Primary Industries? Okay, cool. So what else right now is frustrating you the absolute most about animal welfare in New Zealand? What's the one thing you're like, stuff this?
Yeah, it's oh gosh, there's so many. The next one would be chained dogs. So
Oh, go there. What's the deal there?
it's not illegal to have your dog chained up, providing
It's
that it has shelter, water, food, and enrichment exercise. But that's the law, okay? So, but is it okay to have a dog chained up 20 hours a day? Is that the right thing? Why would you do that? The
you saying a
psychological
chain
harm,
or a rope?
either or,
I don't
typically the
think I think they
chain.
should be able to run around. I don't really. I mean, I don't know. But my dog's never been on a chain. I don't think that'd be nice.
No, and they're sentient beings, right?
Hmm.
It's a bit like putting them in lockdown their entire life.
Hmm.
We've just suffered through, 4 or 7 weeks of it, and that need for social contact is pretty high in most people. And it's the same with these dogs. And so one of my challenges to my team is how do we get enough evidence to take it through court as a prosecution to show that psychological harm is actually not the right thing for the animal. And even though it's not law, it shouldn't be allowed, and we should get that changed as well.
And quite a few dogs just get chained up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's
that's not
whole
cool.
charities just dealing with chained dogs.
Oh man. Yeah, it's always weird because when you're in your own bubble of world, you don't see how other people treat a lot of other things, right? But I'm imagining if you could, like, I've never had one of my dogs there full time. So okay, so that's on your list. All right. What's the one thing that you're most stoked and happy about for New Zealand that we do quite well with when it comes to animals that you're proud of?
One of the things, it's a couple of things. One is the huge passion for animals that we do have.
Mm.
We've got some of the highest, following America, but highest amount of animals per homes in around the world, which is really cool. And one of the just most recent things that I've loved the most is with this COVID situation. I have never seen so many people out and walking their dog. It's just been
Ah,
phenomenal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely everyone's getting these little health routines just to get out of the house to go and do stuff, and then they're like, stuff it, we'll go take the dog for a walk. Yeah, very cool. And before we go, I need to talk to you about one big important issue. It's been just raging on my mind ever since I knew I was going to be talking to Andrea. Tiger King. Let's talk about it.
Oh no, I can't. I haven't watched it. My team keeps saying I need to watch it. I just like I can't. Sorry.
It is wild. Like, holy shit. It is so wild. Like, I didn't know. Everyone, I was just scrolling through, and all these memes just started popping up about this flipping dude that just looks like he's half homeless, half just weird. And I start watching it, and I'm like, the story just gets crazy and crazy and crazy. You need to literally, I think, is mandatory for research and development, for your professional growth, to watch Tiger King in a binge session, and then you can do a you could do an article on LinkedIn. Top 3 things I learned about watching Tiger King. Why
Yeah.
this matters. But what is it I think is interesting is it's not until content comes out that educates and entertains the masses that people actually start to talk about it. And now through Carol Baskin, then people are talking about tiger cruelty and animal cruelty and being caged up and business models behind it. And there's all these kind of and that what I found was really interesting through this whole documentary. I'm sure that your team's talked to you about it, but it's actually, the intent that a lot of these people come into, money starts coming in the way, things start navigating and changing, and the next thing you know, some people build the exact thing that they were born to defend, like trying to defend or trying to take down. And yeah, it's just the commercial intersection between something that you care about to that is something that and they're talking to tiger petting, cubbing, petting, and all that other shit. So, mate, you have to watch it. You just definitely make a mission. It is wild. It is so wild.
I've heard
Um,
that.
if people want to support SPCA, they want to find out more, what can they do? Where can they go? And if it was a message that you'd like to send to, the average New Zealander, what would it be?
So you can go to our website, which is www.spca.nz, and it's got information on everything: how to adopt an animal, foster an animal, how to take care of an animal. You can ask us questions. We're there to help and help educate. And as you say, education is so key to open people's eyes to different ways. And things like enrichment of animals is such a new thing, but is really taking off. So that's cool. Yes, we really need your support. Sadly, it takes about $45 million a year to run the SPCA each year, with all of these animals coming in and out. It's on average about $1,000 per animal by the time we care for them and de-sex them and that. So really, really need your support. And I know it's so super tough at the moment with people losing jobs or having reduced pay and what have you. So any little bit that you can do to help is just amazing. And if you can't give any money, maybe you can knit some mice for the cats and the kittens, or send us, if you've had a big clear out over this lockdown, send it to our op shops and or to our centres for blankets and papers and all of that stuff that we need.
Awesome.
Be
Make sure,
fantastic.
please send me some more information and data around the de-sexing thing. This seems like a no-brainer. And I shall make an email to someone. I mean, look, I've got no idea, but at least I know who the person is that's in charge of the shit. So it's good. Send me some info. Andrea, I really appreciate your time. Best of luck with all the rest of it. And congrats again. And thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Robett. It's been lovely.
Love
Cheers.
your work. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. There we have it. CEO of SPCA New Zealand, Andrea Midgen. A few interesting things there I wouldn't have known about. Didn't know about, quite a bit, how the whole thing works. Super awesome to hear all the pets and animals that got adopted right before lockdown. And just the rights of animals is important. If you don't like animals, stuff you. Animals are awesome. Dogs are awesome. Cats are awesome. Dogs are cooler than cats, but it's a different conversation. And the DC thing seems like an absolute no-brainer. Just make that shit mandatory, chip them up, get them out, and then you stop a whole bunch of, young people and, adults, hurting animals unnecessarily. It seems like a flippin' absolute layup. So, no, very cool. Good chats, good times. Hope you had a good day, team, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.